I'm going to make a bold claim. I think search impression share is becoming obsolete. Things are changing in the landscape of Google Ads and Google itself. So now I'm thinking, do I need to move away from what I previously knew? Hello, guys. Welcome back to another episode of the PPC Cave with me, Ryan Fenton, and my co-host, Gene Villanos. This week, we're going to be talking about what metrics really matter in terms of lead generation. And we're also going to be talking about kind of a small new addition to the team, you could say, over here at the PPC Cave. So we've got all that and more in this episode. Gene, how are you? How's your week been?
I'm good. Just another week. It's getting sunnier over here in Denver, so I can't complain. What about you?
Yeah, pretty good. It's weird because normally at this time of year here in the UK, it's so cold and, it gets, really miserable. But this last week, it's just been really nice. Like the sun has been out, blue skies. Honestly, like my mood has lifted, which is great. So it's like, yeah, I've been dead inside for the last 6 months, and all of a sudden, I've kind of come alive because the sun's out. So sun's out, guns out.
Sunset
But
guns out.
we were talking about that before we hit record and, hitting the gym and things like that. And well, we're not going to bash any previous gym membership places or anything like that, but you're very excited about the new gym you're joining, right? Do you want to talk
Oh,
about it
dude,
or not?
yes. I am super excited. I'm not gonna name the new gym that I'm gonna be at, but it's pretty cool experience in a way, and I hope that I use it way more than the current gym that I have right now. But yeah, it's going to be great. And you're telling me that you're a personal trainer and you are getting on pretty well. So I think me and Ryan are really gearing up for the summer version of our PPC Cave episodes where it's just tank tops and guns out, not covered up at all. So
Well,
super stoked.
but this week, a couple of things we're going to talk about. Obviously, I think we should kick it off with the new addition to the PPC Cave. Not somebody that I don't think is going to be on air, so to speak. And he's not going to be kind of joining us talking about Google Ads. I don't know his knowledge level of that, but it's more behind the scenes where I think, he's going to really make an impact. I mean, do you want to talk? Because you obviously know him a lot better than I do. So,
Yeah. So it's my brother Joel. You could find him at Villanos Visuals. He's a very experienced video editor, and he'll be taking over the socials just because me and Ryan are super duper busy. But I think it's also a testament to how invested we are in the PPC Cave, even though we are not making money off of this. But Joel does not work for free, and we want to be perfectly honest with everyone that we are putting effort and time and money just so that we can continue on with the PPCK because we really love to do it and we love to speak to each other and just learn more about PPC and Google Ads in general and obviously help y'all. So we appreciate Joel and I'm sure he's going to be a bigger part and a bigger role of this as we move forward. But yeah, it's good news all around, I assume. So yeah, that's kind of the new update.
yeah, absolutely. And what's nice is that if we mess up now, he can edit that part out and splash something together and we
Yeah.
can get away with stuff more, which is really good. But that was a really good response. I really like that. That was like me asking like a journalist or something, asking a basketball player, like, what do you think about this? And you gave a very formal,
Thanks.
I'm not talking about practice here. So
I'm media trained for sure. But yeah, just kidding.
that's really cool. So yeah, that's the big kind of news I think in-house, which is for the PPC Cave is that yeah, like Gene said, we are taking this very seriously. This is an investment for us. We love doing these episodes. We love getting together and talking Google Ads. It's our livelihood and it's what we love to do. But at the same time, we are busy. We have other commitments and we're trying to individually grow our businesses. So this is why I think we got to a point where it made sense to get someone else to come in and take the reins from us. So yeah, we're looking forward to that. Cool. So that's the first part of the episode kind of wrapped up. The second part really is, as the title says, what are the most important metrics, to kind of take a look at inside Google Ads from a lead gen perspective. I appreciate that we talk a lot about e-commerce, but we both have a lot of love for lead generation, especially me, but also Gene now. I mean, you're starting to enter the world of lead generation, aren't you? So
Yeah, I'm entering. Ryan has rolled out the red carpet for me and I am entering. I think it's super, yes, absolutely. I thought I was just going to be the ecom guy from the beginning, the genesis of the PPC Cave, but as of recently I have about four lead gen clients now. So definitely
wow.
not like Ryan because, he's definitely way more experienced, but I'm getting my feet wet for sure. So
Well, you say that, but I think as it sounds like, we're both 50-50 split between e-commerce and lead generation. But look at you stealing those lead gen clients away from me, you see. So it's not good. Everything's drying up my side, but there's like lots of lakes and water on your side for lead generation, which is cool.
I gotta get some. I gotta get some experience.
No, but in all seriousness, I think it's good that you're doing this because also, having best of both worlds, it opens you up to helping a lot more people. But I think you also learn a lot more as well about Google Ads from both sides of the coin, So I think that's really good. And yeah, I guess we'll just go straight into it then. And Gene and I were talking before we hit record, and this is something that I'm starting to look at, and I'm going to make a bold claim, but I need to do the research to back it up. But the bold claim is for me, I think search impression share is becoming obsolete. So it's kind of like a big bold statement, but how many times in your accounts have you seen, and I'm not just asking Gene here, I'm asking like a rhetorical question, but how many times in accounts have you seen a client or a campaign have less than 10% impression share, search impression share, yet they convert really well? I've probably got a handful of clients at the moment. I'm thinking like two, maybe three, maybe even four at a push that they're getting less than 10% search impression share, maybe even less than 20% at max, but they're converting really, really well. And I'm thinking, well, how can this be? Like, because, if you look at Google Ads maybe 5, 10 years ago, people would say, right, what you want to do is you want to use manual bidding and you want to get around 50 to 60, maybe 70% search impression share. What does that mean? That means every time somebody does a search on Google, you show up 60 to 70% of the time. So, whatever keywords you're bidding on, when they do a search in relation to your keywords, you're showing up 60 to 70% of the time. Why is that good? Well, that's advertising time, that's air time, and if you can capture one conversion or a handful of conversions out of that 60 to 70% search impression share, then you're doing something right. So that's just making sure that you're advertising consistently across the day and that you have good market coverage essentially. But I think the tide is turning. I think things are changing in the landscape of Google Ads and Google itself, whereby, like I said, three, four of my clients, they have less than 10% search impression share, but they're smashing it. They're killing it. They're getting so many conversions on such low impression share. I'm thinking, how does this make sense? So now I'm thinking, do I need to move away from what I previously knew? Do I need to move away from search impression share as a metric? Because typically I would look at, I think, 5 columns, which is search impression share lost due to rank, search impression share lost due to budget, and then I'd look at impressions top percentage and absolute impression share top percentage and things like that. So I'd look at all those 5 columns, and that would kind of help me base my decisions in terms of do I need to add more keywords, which keywords are performing well, this, that, and the other. But now, if I'm getting a lot of keywords that are showing less than 10% of the time, but converting very well, like make it make sense, right? It doesn't make sense to me. So I'm wondering, is there another metric we should be looking at? I'm starting to think maybe click through rate, CTR, could be the one to take note of. Because when we look at click through rate, at least for me, this metric is built upon your advertising to people who are searching for your keywords for your business. And then when they click through on your ad, so click through rate, when they click on your ad, that shows relevancy. So to me, the higher the click through rate, the more relevant you are in terms of advertising. You're reaching the right type of people because you have a higher click through rate. So I need this is only just really coming to my head like the last 2 or 3 days. So it's really fresh in my mind, and I've not done any research to back this up. I could be absolutely talking rubbish at the moment. But for me, I mean, yeah, it's something that I need to do more research on, really. But I'm just thinking, is click-through rate potentially one of the many metrics that we should look at going forward? I've said a lot. Gene, why don't you give me your thoughts on what I've said?
No, I think this is super valid because we were having a conversation to even figure out if this was a topic we wanted to discuss. And I initially said I don't even look at for my lead gen clients, or even any e-commerce. I don't even really look at search impression share or loss due to rank or budget, any of those metrics anymore. I know, there's a lot of I guess this is kind of like the secret hacks or tips where if you can, add all these up, it'll be like this, or you're supposed to be over 25%. So I feel like for a really long time, the narrative surrounding the metrics of search impression share, impression share loss due to rank and budget was like, this is the next level of Google Ads PPC management that you have to be obsessed about as a metric. But I think there's a lot of different things that are evolving. I think for me, if I'm using a manual CPC bid strategy on a lead gen, I might take a look at search impression share here and there. But for the most part, I use automated bid strategy. So the automated bid strategy essentially is negating search impression share and just saying, give me the conversions. So if you've had a good and successful campaign that has maybe low, under 10, 15, 20% search impression share, maybe it's because all the other signals in the account, if it be another adjacent PMAX campaign or, just account level conversions, there's something there where it's like saying, we're not really worrying about the search impression share. We're just going to get you as many conversions as possible and negating that specific metric. So maybe that me and Ryan haven't done research. We're just kind of like spitballing on top of our heads. That could be a reason why I don't really use search impression share. I'd rather, like Ryan say, look at CTR for specific ad copy just to see if that's resonating in the sentiment or in the way that I want with the specific search keywords in that ad group. Or I would even just look at CPA or cost per conversion at this point. If I'm getting clicks and I'm getting conversions, I don't care where I'm at with the impression share, if that makes sense. Any thoughts on that initial rebuttal?
Yeah, that was going to be sort of like the next thing I was going to kind of mention. So I'm glad that you kind of went into that because, we look at things like broad match as a match type. We look at things like smart bidding strategies like maximize conversions, for example. And what Google is saying is that there's a lot of information behind smart bidding and broad match now. So perhaps gone are the days where we had broad match modified, broad match, phrase match, and exact match as we knew. And to a degree, we already know this, right? Google has kind of come out and said that they've evolved match types. Like they got rid of broad match modifier, they've worked on broad match a lot more. They've incorporated, I think they said they incorporated broad match modifier into phrase match. An exact match is not really exact as it used to be. So it's all kind of up in the air. So actually, maybe it's better to say is match types dying? I don't really know. But what I'm trying to get at here is that we're in a new age where Google has all this information on us, no doubt. But it's looking at signals, it's looking at devices, it's looking at time of day, it's looking at locations, it's looking at user behavior, right? It's looking at what websites has this person previously visited in order to get to this point. And now that they're searching for this search term or this search query, are they in more of a position to take action and pick up the phone and call the business or leave a lead form or whatever it might be? So I think all of these signals are playing a bigger part than, say, something like any individual metric, whether that's search impression share, click through rate. And I'm thinking maybe this is something that it's just interesting. It's hard for me to kind of put it into words without really doing the research, but I think there's more to this now than there used to be. At one time a day, it was very black and white. You bid this amount, you win the auction, you get the click, the person goes through and you get the conversion. You look at metrics like your ad rank, your quality score, you look at your search impression share, your click-through rate, all these kind of individual metrics, and you base your decisions in your Google Ads knowledge off of those to improve campaigns. But now I think, I mean, we're in 2025, AI is fully taken off. I assume that's going to play a part in advertising sooner rather than later as well. And it kind of is in the back end of Google Ads, but I'm thinking more front end as well. But I think now we're in this new age where signals and understanding user behavior, and if a person is more likely to convert at which funnel, and then Google bids more aggressively. This is pretty much maximize conversions in a nutshell. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking. Gene, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it's becoming more holistic. The way that the approach is back then, it just was so mechanical because there was less levers. I feel like that we could, kind of toggle up and down when it came to what we can do. But now introducing the full journey, as Ryan mentioned, the full picture of a searcher, there's so many different ingredients. I feel like that's mixed into the pot, where now it's very difficult to say, and maybe even detrimental as a PPC manager to say, this is one metric that I'm going to say, I'm going to create a specific change because of one metric. It's not, it's tough to do that now, I feel like, especially when we have very effective bid strategies, such as what Ryan loves, his max conversions and me, my max conversion value. But I use max conversions now too for lead gen for sure. But it's like, it's a lot of AI and signals and audiences that I feel like you would be very, very, you would be shooting yourself in the foot if you were to just create or conclude a specific outcome or way of optimizing a campaign or account if you only saw one metric, and in this case, search impression share. But to kind of ask or push back, so what metrics would you look at though for lead gen that you would say, aside from CTR and obviously conversions and cost per conversions, that you really like looking at, and instead of just search impression share? I'll go first to kind of give you,
Just give me a chance to speak. I'll go
yeah,
first.
yeah. No, well, I mean, so overall, I like to look at auction insight sometimes. That kind of goes into search impression share. But like recently, I have one client that takes calls to do a service. And he's like, I don't want to be named with this specific business because this specific business is essentially a keyword, but it's like saying Google me. It's an action word, but an actual competitor. So don't have that. So it's like, okay, I get that this is one thing that they don't want because it's an irrelevant call if they show up for that. But what are other, competitors? And I usually just look at auction insights and just making them all negative. What about you, Ryan? Any little metrics or things you look at as lead gen for lead gen?
No, I mean, I'm in a very, I don't know what the word is. Like things are changing, obviously, the way I read the data, I guess, at the moment. And yeah, the core metrics will always, always, always be the same. You want to be looking at conversions. You want to look at conversion rates. You want to look at cost per conversion as well. Even click-through rate. I think these are solid metrics that you can look at and make data-driven decisions from. Because if you've got a low conversion rate, okay, am I bidding on the right keywords? Is the landing page relevant? Things like that. If the click-through rate is low, okay, what can I do to improve the quality of, the search? because obviously if click through rate is low, you're advertising to the wrong people. Maybe you're advertising or you're showing up for searches that are just not relevant. So maybe there's a lot of negative keywording that you need to do on the back end. And yeah, cost per conversion. I mean, for a lead gen business, obviously the lower the better, right? If you can do $1 or £1 cost per conversion, people will want that, but it's not realistic in this day and age. I think this is really to kind of put all this into context. And, I've not really mentioned this to Gene, but beforehand, I actually just recorded a case study of a client I have in the plumbing niche. And because this is really what got me thinking about all of this, is that I'm doing this broad match, maximize conversions campaign on his account. And I think it's fair to say that plumbing is probably one of the hardest niches to advertise in on Google because it's so expensive. If you do keyword research on Google Keyword Planner, you will see clicks like $30, $50 a click, just a single click. It is ridiculous. And well, I'm looking at this client I have, and we're spending like £40 a day. We're advertising in 5 different locations, which I guess you could say kind of makes up like a small state in the US. And yet you'd think, well, £40 a day is nothing. It's such a low budget for the plumbing niche. Yet we're getting like a call, we're getting a lead form every single day. We're absolutely smashing it. We're converting around 10%, maybe even 12%. And but the search impression share is less than 10%. So it doesn't make sense to me. And I'm thinking, well, why could this be? Maybe it's because what Gene was saying as well, the fact that it's more interest-based targeting now. The way that broad match and maximize conversions work is looking at these additional signals, like I already ran through, time of day, device, location, if they're in market, the interest, these kind of things. So yeah, this is where it's all kind of stemmed from me. And it's not just this account. I'm also seeing it in 2 or 3, like I said, other accounts as well. So now for the next step for me is to really go and start looking for patterns and, answers as to why this is working so well. Cost per conversion for plumbing. I mean, I think if you're doing anything under or around $150 cost per conversion, then you're doing something right, £150. But for this one, we're doing £90 cost per conversion in plumbing, which I just think is bonkers, absolutely crazy. Um, you don't really, I don't think you guys say bonkers over there, so I don't know what you guys say. Do you know what I mean by bonkers?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Have you heard of that one?
Yeah, like crazy, like bonkers. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
like crazy.
I
That's
like it.
whack, yo.
Yeah.
I don't know, but yeah, it is. It is whack. It's absolutely madness. Like £90 cost per conversion in plumbing. Yeah. So the results have really surprised me. Really. Yeah, Gene, you chirp in. You say things now.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say a couple things. Like, yeah, and I remember. So this was a long time ago. I wouldn't say my first lead gen client, but this is when I first learned to do Google Ads, and it was so crazy. In my uni, as you guys would say, one of my digital marketing professors, shout out, what's his name? Gosh, what's his name? I don't know. I forgot his name. Scott, Dr. Scott, I think. He did digital marketing, and I don't know how he did it, but he basically said all of us have to put down money to manage a Google Ads account. But then he had like all these different clients. I don't know if is his clients like on the side, but we were basically giving him, like, we put our own money to manage the account, which is crazy now looking
It's
back at
so
it. But
funny.
it's like so opportunistic of him if he does have clients on the side. But anyway, genius. But anyway, so yeah, we did it, and we had a roofing company, and sometimes the cost per click was like $30. So I get what Ryan is saying about just the cost per conversion and just being very low is a really good thing. But in this day and age, in 2025, I think there is a reverse almost, just because it's, I'm sure there are still, if you're in LA, lawyer in LA, or general orthopedic surgeon in LA. Like those are really big lead gen keywords that will cost a lot, and the cost per conversion for that will be a lot, just because the value of that is a lot. But I think what bridges the gap, or is the great equalizer, as some British people would say, is just the way that AI is being optimized through smart bidding. Everything now is real time, real life adjustments based on the conversion likelihood of things because of all the data that we have. Therefore, it does not take multiple clicks, it does not take a high search impression share to get results if what you're doing on the back end of ads relevancy is correct. Because like Ryan says, a lot of his audience base interest targeted. So if you have some type of sentiment in your ads or ad group that's very, very laser focused, even if you're using broad match, Google will reward in 2025 relevancy. And I think that is just the reason why we see maybe a lower search impression, but still good cost per conversion, or even a lower cost per conversion than what we usually see in that specific niche. So that's kind of my take on what you just mentioned.
Have a guess what you think the average cost per click is for the plumbing that I'm running at the moment.
Pounds?
Yeah, in GBP.
10.
10. What for plumbing? That's really that's still quite low, I would say.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, I would have like you know, before I ran this campaign, I would have said something like realistically, to get top place or whatever, you'd have to pay a lot of money. But this is the thing. This is what comes into question is I'm not necessarily paying for top place anymore. I think I'm just letting the conversions come in and looking at all these different signals. But to answer the question, it's like £5. It's like six
Okay.
pound cost per click, which is crazy to me. Like in that niche, like I've had HVAC clients in the US, I've had plumbing clients in the US, and it's just so expensive. Like cost per clicks and $15, like $22 cost per click. So for me to run this one and get a £5 cost per click, it's just um yeah, just crazy. So yeah, I'm really pleased at that one. Really pleased with the results. Like I said, I just did a case study on that one, and yeah, it just throws everything I know about Google Ads into question, and I need to kind of look for some patterns and do a lot more research on this. But yeah, it's just really interesting, which is it's also kind of nice as well because there's so many. I mean, you mentioned like roofing client and your professor. I don't know whether he should be like applauded and given a Nobel Prize for getting a bunch of kids to pay him to run a campaign, or if he should be thrown in jail.
A little bit of both. Yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah, we should get him on, like ask him some questions. That'd be
We
great.
should. I'll
How
ask
cool
him.
would that be? Yeah, please
Yeah.
do. That'd be great. But it's kind of nice because all these niches, like we were probably afraid to advertise in or have clients in before, like plumbing and roofing and electricians and things like that, where it's like, oh my God, it's too expensive it's too competitive, too expensive to advertise in. Like maybe now, if this is the way that it's working, it's kind of leveled the playing field a little bit. And you don't have to have a $500 per day budget to compete in roofing or electricians. You could have like a modest budget, like $25, $30, £30 per day, and still get decent results. So that could be interesting. But yeah.
I did want to chime in, and maybe this is, since this is like a new topic, when me and Ryan do new topics, it's like I'm thinking harder about what to say just because we don't have it just all lined up. So it kind of provides better content in a way. So I'm thinking about this, like I understand that these are niches that are very saturated, as they say, but then there's always that demand side of it, right? It's like if there's saturation, then the supply must meet the demand and vice versa. So it kind of goes both ways. But I do also think and believe that maybe a new PPC manager going into lead gen that don't have any experience whatsoever, if it e-com or lead gen, might have a worse time than us. But I do think that me and Ryan vet clients and look at the website and see as a holistic business, is this a fit? does this work for what this budget is? And I think maybe that does have something to do with success in lead gen or just in general, just because we're not taking clients that are like, a little iffy on the website or maybe don't have potential, just because it's just really, really tough and it's an uphill battle to get the cost per conversion or ROAS at that certain place if all the tools, i.e., the website, user experience, or just landing pages in general, product pages, aren't there. Regardless of how good the budget is, regardless of how good the PPC manager is, you could look at search impression share all day long. But if you don't have the other side of it where you audit the business low key and just look at and see if this has potential, maybe that's also a driving factor of why there's success, So, yeah, there's just a lot of different things maybe that, could be just a thought, so.
Yeah. Thank you for the input there, and it's an interesting topic, and it's just like I said, the last few days has been playing on my mind, and this is definitely a different episode to what we normally do. I mean, we normally have a themed episode, and I guess this is kind of it, but we normally have it written out in front of us, and maybe it's a little bit more on the fly this time. I kind of like it. I kind of like watching Gene sweat a little bit, putting him on the spot, asking him these questions, but it's all good fun. So I think, yeah, it's an interesting topic, but I think we should wrap this up. I mean, do you have any final thoughts on anything we've talked about, or are we good to go?
No, I think we're good to go. I think this is a good episode to kind of switch up the monotony sometimes. We're more on the fly, like Ryan says. So yeah, no, I'm all good.
Cool. Well, in that case, we'll wrap this up, and yeah, it's been a good episode. And if you are interested in either working with Gene or I, you can message us at theppccave@gmail.com. You can find me Ryan Fenton ppc.co.uk. And Gene, where can people find you if they want to work with you?
GeneVillanos.com.
Got that American twang. GeneVillanos.com. It always sounds better, I think. Um, so yeah, we release episodes. Is it still going to be mounted time now that we're not in charge of it, or
Yeah, I just said Mountain Time just to
yeah?
make it easy. 12 a.m.
So
random.
yeah, so wherever the hell mounted time is in the world, that's when we release the episodes. And they're still gonna we're probably gonna start being a little bit more active on social now that we've got Joel taking over. So TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Shorts, things like that. Keep an eye out. Make sure you subscribe for all the latest content that's going to be coming your way. And as Gene always says, if there's nothing else, we'll see you all next time.